Welcome to Module 2 presentation of 279W, Windows Server Administration. I am your instructor, Robert McMillen. And let's talk about our objectives for this particular module. We're going to be talking about administrative users versus standard users, administration tools such as the control panel, and command line utilities. And then we'll also go over the initial tasks, configuration task console. We'll discuss computer management tool, server manager, and MMC, and then also go over server roles and features. So an administrative user versus a standard user. An administrative user is a user with broad rights and privileges to make changes to a system. By default, the administrator user, which is the username administrator, has all of the rights needed to manage the server. A standard user is a user with limited rights and privileges to make changes to a system. So when you create users for people in your office, for instance, when you become an IT administrator, they will be standard users. They won't have a lot of rights other than rights to specific folders and files. The control panel is a collection of tools for managing system configuration. It can be organized in different ways according to the view you're using. You've got the category control panel view, which is the default one, and then the classic one, which is the alternative. So if we look at our server, and let's go ahead and close that, go to the Start button, click on Control Panel. We can choose the category view, which is by default, or we can choose large or small icons. Command line utilities launched from the command line. There's lots of different ones out there. Command line utilities include DNS command, displays and manages the configuration of DNS services, IPconfig, which shows you your IP information, NSLOOKUP, which allows you to look up servers or look up names of computers or IP addresses, path ping, which traces your routes to different locations, regular ping, and trace route. So let's go ahead and start with IPconfig. That's going to be one that you use a lot in your career. And you can do a couple different things. One is you can click on PowerShell, which works just like command prompt, but also allows you to run scripts. Or you can go click on the Start button and choose command prompt. Either one of those will work just fine in order to type these commands. So we're going to type IPconfig, hit enter, and it shows us both our version 4 and version 6 IP address information. So you can see here's the version 6 and here's the version 4. If we type IPconfig space all /all, then we see information, a little bit more information than we would have seen otherwise, such as whether NetBIOS over TCP/IP is enabled, DNS server information, that kind of thing. So you can see a lot more information when you do the /all. Excuse me, if you wanted to do register a computer into the DNS manager, you type /register DNS, and then there's a little bit of a delay, and then it tells you it will do that. And there it is. Registration will be initiated. There's also some other commands as well, such as you can do, if you have a dynamic address, you can do a release or you can do a renew. We have static IP addresses, so we won't be using those. All right, NSLOOKUP, we'll go ahead and type that. And we'll typically get an error here unless we have a reverse lookup setup, which we don't in DNS. So we type NSLOOKUP, you hit enter, and it says that it timed out. But if we type in NSLOOKUP and then the name of the server or computer, then it should tell us the IP address, which it does. So the reason why the first one times out is because we don't have a reverse zone lookup in the DNS manager. If we created, what we have now is forward lookups. So if we created a reverse zone, then the just typing NSLOOKUP will tell you who your DNS provider is. Path ping and also trace route will trace to a particular IP address. I like using trace route better, so we'll go ahead and do the traceroute command. Let's go ahead and close that and open up a new box. So we do trace route, and if we do a -D, it won't try to resolve all the IP addresses to names. And we'll just choose a public DNS server out there. And it traces out there. It says, oh, our trace is complete, that there was an error, a transit error. So if we do this from the host, we won't get that because we're not in a virtual environment. But this is what it normally looks like. So it shows you every hop it takes from here all the way to the finished location. And you can see there's 12 hops. If it gets past 30, then it will time out. 30 is the maximum by default, although you can override that if you want. And then ping, of course, just allows us to ping our particular servers and workstations. So from client 1, for instance, you'll type in ping DC01, and then you'll get the response, and you'll screenshot that. So ping is just as sort of like a sonar, just sends out a signal and waits for a return. The initial configuration tasks console is designed to help you quickly set up a new server. Automatically starts this console after you complete the installation of the operating system. This is the console that opens up as soon as you start up the computer, and it allows you to make a lot of changes that you would normally be able to make as soon as you start up the server for the first time. So here is our initial tasks that we can choose, such as setting the time zone, activating the server, configuring networking, a lot of different things. Now, all these things can be done by going to the Start Administrative Tools and opening up the appropriate thing, or the control panel for some of this, like networking. But this puts it all in one place. And if you don't want it to pop up every time, then you can just click the box so it'll go away. That way, the next time you open it, it won't do that. Now, the other thing that pops up right away too is Server Manager. Server Manager, same thing. If you don't want it to start automatically every time you start the server, you can check that particular box. But we will be getting into Server Manager here in a second, so we'll leave that open. So the computer management has 3 categories: system tools, storage, and services and applications. The tools are designed to manage systems and view system information. The available system tools are Task Scheduler, Event Viewer, Shared Folders, Local Groups, Users and Groups, Reliability and Performance, and Device Manager. Displays drive information and provides access to drive management tools. Available storage tools include removable storage and disk management. So computer management is a great way to manage your computer. And I'll show you that here in just a second. It helps you manage services and applications. This is the Services and Applications tool. Any application or service-related task that can be performed in a separate tool can be performed through the Services and Applications node as well. So let's go ahead and just click on Start, right-click on Computer, go to Properties. And from here, of course, we can see all the system properties of the computer. We can click on Device Manager to see what's going on with devices. We can click on Remote Settings, so we can say whether or not you can turn on Remote Desktop so people can remote into it. And you can click on Advanced System Settings to change things such as the virtual memory, background and foreground services. Here's the virtual memory, which we'll get into a little later. Now, instead of choosing Properties, if you want, you can right-click on Computer and choose Manage, and then that's where you get into the Server Manager. So in Server Manager, you see things like roles, features, diagnostics, configuration, a lot of different things, and then of course storage. Click on Disk Management and you can see your various different hard drives. We just have the one hard drive, of course. This is the same procedure as if you click this button in the bottom left-hand corner, Server Manager. It's the same exact box that pops up. So inside Server Manager, we see things such as the roles, features, and diagnostics. So roles provides an overview of the status of the roles installed on a server, as well as options for managing the roles. Roles basically are applications that affect everyone in the domain. Features are different. Features only affect the particular computer you're running. So if you wanted to install an application just to make the server run, have additional functionality, that's what you would do with features. Whereas roles, if you would install something like Active Directory and some other applications that affect everybody in the domain. Diagnostic simply is the tools that you use in order to troubleshoot the computer and manage it. Then you have configuration and storage, which I just showed you, provides access to general purpose configuration tools, and then the storage shows you the hard drives. So let's go back in, and we're back in Server Manager. Click on Roles, and we used roles, of course, to install Active Directory. Domain services earlier, you see that's the box that's checked right there. You also see that DNS server got checked as well. So if we want to, we can check additional things, which we will be doing later on. Features, click on that, and you can see things that just affect the server itself. One of the features I like to put on in order to test if ports are open on a firewall is I like to install the Telnet client. So that's not going to affect anybody on the domain, it's only going to affect this particular server. And then once that's installed, I can do things like telnet, and then put in a name or an IP address, and then put in a port. And if screen goes black, then I know the port is open. If it doesn't, then I know it's closed. Okay, MMC is a real handy tool. Microsoft Management Console helps you more readily manage computers, users, and other aspects, provides the capability to build your own consoles and customize existing ones, designed to be a central interface, and it uses add-in components called snap-ins. A console is simply a container for snap-ins that uses the MMC framework. Dozens of pre-configured snap-ins are available, more like hundreds. Third-party tools from independent software vendors can also use the MMC, which is kind of nice. And although you can load multiple snap-ins into a single console, most of the pre-configured consoles have only a single snap-in. A couple of different modes. You have author mode and user mode. So author mode allows you to make changes to the snap-ins, whereas user mode does not. They both allow you to use the program itself, though. So let's take a look at MMC. It's very easy to open. All you have to do is go down to your Start button, in the box type MMC. Now by default it's empty, so why do you even need the MMC? Well, you could use all these different tools from the administrative tools, the control panel, and all these other different places. But if you want to create a customized interface for things you go to all the time, then the MMC is perfect for that. So what you do is you click under Actions, you click under File, you click under View, Favorites. There's all different things you can do. But to add in the snap-ins, we're going to go ahead and add remove snap-in. And from here, you see a lot of the tools that we see under administrative tools, such as Active Directory users and computers, which we've opened previously. You can put in a lot of different ones. You can also choose which account you're going to use. You can also connect to other computers, which is nice. If I click Add, I can choose my local computer, or I can look at this particular program on another computer. So it allows all these different things to be tied into just one custom interface. And when you're done, you can save that interface as, you can call it a custom MMC, or whatever it is you want to call it. Put it right on the desktop, click Save, and then when we close that, the next time we want to go back into it, we double click on it, and we save all of our custom settings. So it's a great way to help you manage a server. Server roles and features. I showed you how to install roles and features just a few minutes ago. There are related sets of software components that allow servers to perform a specific function for users and other computers on the network. A computer can be dedicated to a single role, such as Active Directory, or a computer can provide multiple roles. So you don't have to put all the roles on. In 2003, if you ever manage one of those, you'll see all the different applications are installed mostly by default. That uses a lot of resources and also opens it up to security problems. With 2008, it installs almost nothing. It allows you to decide what to put onto the server. Role services are software components that provide the functionality of server roles. This can be very confusing. So before we just installed a server role. Now we're installing a role service. It seems like they're opposite, but they're really not. So if we go back into server manager, we see our roles. And underneath the roles, these are role services. So role here, role service here. So keep that in mind. If you want, you can install the role services right from the roles themselves. And it allows you to see all the role services that are tied to that one server role. Features, as I mentioned earlier, are software components that provide additional functionality just to the server itself. You can also install things like Windows Server Backup, which you'll be doing in a later lab. A computer can have multiple features or none. Just depends on what you want. So we talked about a lot of things: administrative users versus standard. Control panel showed you some command line utilities, the initial configuration task, and the task console. We went over server manager, MMC, and server roles and features. That concludes our module 2, and we look forward to moving on to our next module, module 3.